किसके हस्बैंड को आप देखना चाहते हैं?
मैं आपकी नहीं, यहाँ पे देखनी है आपके। लेकिन ऑल टाइम हीरो। मुझे लगी उसकी जैसे इससे भी बड़ी मुझे है कुछ पिक्चर की दाढ़ी वाड़ी अयो ఏంటో అన్ని డెస్క్టాప్ ఐకాన్స్ హైడ్ చేసేసింటావా అన్హైడ్ బై द वे बुक का है ये वाले जो प्रभु जी है ये वाले नहीं दूसरे प्रभु जी है ना he was going to have his third marriage बाबा रे कौन है ये महात्मा वो कार्डो going to have his third marriage कार्डो प्रभु के उधर आते हैं वो मंदिर में रुकते हैं व्हाइट क्लोथ पहन के आते हैं मुझे पता नहीं कौन वो जो हमेशा जिनका सीडी मैंने खरीदा था जो गोविंद जय दाई थे वो मंदिर में ऊपर जाते हैं और जो फिर अपना तो उनकी थर्ड शादी हो रही है वो बोल रहे थे माता जी सारे टेम्पल के दुख आपको ही मालूम है पता नहीं की सब लोग मुझे किसी की बुराई करो तो बुराई अरे पापा फेवरेट है ना बहुत बड़े ही बड़े ये हैं of course we have to talk about the genitals then we have to talk about the anal whole sensory organ system thank God कितने वर्सेस पढ़ने वो भी मुझे नहीं पता हाँ गुड माता जी थोड़ा देखिए ना आपको वो ईमेल आता है उसमें मानसिक लगा माता जी ने कितने दिए वो ऑन होगा हाँ ऑन होगा हाँ 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 माता जी सही है वो कृष्णा प्लान है एक्चुअली आप उसमें जो भरोगे वो कृष्णा का प्लान है ओके माता जी थैंक यू सो मच यू कैन फील ऑल द नाइस थिंग्स इन देयर दैट्स फॉर योर बर्थडे थैंक यू बाप रे माता जी my birthday gift दिया मुझे माता जी every day one like one that is my birthday gift लीला जी बोलेगी इससे अच्छा कुछ छोटा मोटा लेके रखा देती ना तो here last में माता जी कोई नहीं है हम तीनों हैं मैं शुरू कर दूं 26 to 28 ऑन कैसे ऑनलाइन रिकॉर्ड होगा ना तो ओके ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानशाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी Mataji, would you like to read? You want to hear? Okay, we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 10, text 26 through 28 today. So this is text 26. Anyone else who is on the call today?
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Vishali. I have joined the call.
Okay, Mataji.
You have a book, Vishali Mataji? Yes, Mataji, I have book.
Would you like to read text 26? I will read the Sanskrit and then you can start, okay?
Sure, Mataji.
Nirabhidyate shishno vai prajanandamrita arthina upastha asit kamanam priyatat ubhayashrayam. Ready? Vishali Mataji, you can read translation and purport.
Yes, Mataji. We are reading text translation for text 26. Yes. Translation. Thereupon, for sexual pleasure, begetting offspring and tasting heavenly nectar, the Lord developed the genitals, and thus there is the genital organ and its controlling deity, the Prajapati. The object of sexual pleasure and the controlling deity are under the control of the genitals of the Lord. Purport. The heavenly pleasure for the conditioned soul is sexual pleasure, and this pleasure is tasted by the genitals. The woman is the object of sexual pleasure, and both the sense perception of sexual pleasure and the woman are controlled by the Prajapati, who is under the control of the Lord's genitals. The impersonalist must know from this verse that the Lord is not impersonal, for he has his genitals on which all the pleasurable objects of sex depend. No one would have taken the trouble to maintain children if there were no taste of heavenly nectar by means of sexual intercourse. This material world is created to give the conditioned souls a chance for rejuvenation, for going back home, back to Godhead, and therefore generation of the living being is necessary for upkeeping of the purpose of creation. Sexual pleasure is an impetus for such action, and as such, one can even serve the Lord in the act of such sexual pleasure. The service is counted when the children born of such sexual pleasure are properly trained in God consciousness. The whole idea of material creation is to revive the dormant God consciousness of the living entity in forms of life other than the human form. Sexual pleasure is prominent without any motive of service for the mission of the Lord. But in the human form of life, the conditioned souls can render service to the Lord by creating progeny suitable for the attainment of salvation. One can beget hundreds of children and enjoy the celestial pleasure of sexual intercourse, provided he is able to train the children in God consciousness. Otherwise, begetting children is on the level of the swine. Rather, the swine is more expert than the human being, because the swine can beget a dozen piglets at a time, whereas the human being can give birth to only one at a time. So one should always remember that the genitals, sexual pleasure, the woman, and the offsprings are all related in the service of the Lord. And one who forgets this relationship in the service of the Supreme Lord becomes subjected to the threefold miseries of material existence by the laws of nature. Perception of sexual pleasure is there even in the body of the dog, but there is no sense of God consciousness. The human form of life is distinct from that of the dog by the perception of God consciousness.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reading. Is anybody else on the call, or is it only Rishali, Mataji and us? Seema Patel is here too. Oh, Hare Krishna, Seema Mataji. Okay. So, I see you finished text number 26. Yes. Yeah. This is Canto 2, Chapter 10, text 26. Yeah. So, this whole chapter we are actually hearing how one sense after another comes from the Supreme Lord. So while I was reading this, I was actually thinking that it is very easy for us to actually think that this is my hand, this is my body, this is how I should use it, and this is how I want to do things, and all of that using the body. But actually, all of this comes from the Supreme Lord. Actually, it belongs to Him. So it's very important how we take care of the body, not just our consciousness, but part of it is also important to care for the body, because it's also like a service to Krishna when we take care of our body. Because actually there is a story which is very nice. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is a pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, Sanatan Goswami, he's one of the 6 Goswamis. He was actually walking in forest area, and while he was walking, he saw a lake. And because he was so thirsty, it's a pond. So he actually drank water from a pond which had some kind of a contaminated water. So by drinking water from the pond, his whole body had actually developed some sores actually. I don't know what they're called, sores, right? Yeah. So a pus was oozing from them, and the whole body was like completely full of those boils, kind of sores. And when he was walking back, he was actually thinking that I should just give up my body, not because he did not care for the body, but because he thought that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every time he sees Sanatan Goswami, with lot of affection, he used to go and embrace him. And he thought that all the pus that's oozing from his body is going to smear on the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So thinking as a service to the Lord, he was actually thinking of giving up his body. But then eventually when he reaches the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying, he comes to meet him. And Sanatan Goswami doesn't really reveal his heart, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him that you cannot leave the body because your body belongs to me. And he actually tells that, and then he embraces Sanatan Goswami. And by the embrace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the sores of his body go away. So for me, the meditation through this chapter has been like how we can engage our body, how we can engage our senses in the service of the Lord. Because the Lord is the proprietor of everything, and He's the proprietor of this body as well. So here it is very interesting how in this verse it is described as something that we generally think, see as very abominable of having this sex desire can also be engaged in the service of the Lord. So it is explained that the Lord is a person, and the Lord also has genitals, and the controlling deity so each organ has controlling deity, and the controlling deity is Prajapati for the genitals. So in the purport, Prabhupada actually explains how we can even through sex pleasure please or serve the Lord. So in ISKCON, we have a very, I would say it's more like a program, or rather I would say it's like an education that's taught to us of how to beget children. So the devotees of Lord Krishna, they refrain to have sex if the intention is not to beget children. And just before they want to have children, then they go and they take blessings from the spiritual masters, they take blessings from the Vaishnavas, and on the day of the day when they want to have children, they actually chant 50 rounds. Because what it does is that when we chant and when the mood is to serve Krishna through having children, then the consciousness is set. And what happens is that by the act of sex, the soul that appears in the womb of the mother, they are devotees of the Lord who come and take birth from the womb of such devotees. So, Srila Prabhupada has actually given us the structure of how we can actually use even the desire of sex in service of the Lord. What else is here? Yeah, and then Prabhupada points out that the very fact that a person is living in the material world, the strongest thing that keeps a person here is sex desire. We actually see that all the movies and all the advertisements, everything rests on this one principle. We see that there are, like, even a person, like somebody is advertising a shaving cream. It has nothing to do with the woman, but still a nice looking woman will come and probably give the shaving thing to the man or something. It's basically everything involves women, mostly because of this principle of sex desire is so strong in the material world. So Prabhupada actually is saying that is what is actually keeping everybody, and the sex desire actually gives pleasure. There is some pleasure that comes from that, the very act itself. So they and he is pointing out that if that pleasure was not there, then there is no motivation to have children. So that is the reason why everybody wants to indulge in this sexual pleasure. But as devotees, we know that why we have such organs is because to beget children and make them Krishna conscious. And that is pleasing to Krishna. If we use it in that way, then it is pleasing to Krishna. So, and then he says that one can beget hundreds of children and enjoy the celestial pleasure of sexual intercourse, provided he is able to train his children in Krishna consciousness. So this is the main thing, that our duty or our dharma as parents is to train our children and bring them closer to Krishna. So mostly what happens is that there are people who have left their bhakti somewhere in between, and Krishna gives them this opportunity to take birth in devotee families, so that these people or these souls can actually make their journey closer to Krishna. So such devotional souls, they take birth in the family of devotees. Actually, I was talking to one Mataji. She is a very senior devotee who keeps traveling and comes to a temple once in a while. So I was talking to her, and then I was asking her that Mataji, so many times we hear that by chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regulative principles, Srila Prabhupada says that we are going to go back home, back to Godhead in this very lifetime. So is it true? Because I'm really not chanting well. What would you say? And she told me that it is not possible for any person to actually go home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. But what she said is that there are 3 lifetimes after this lifetime that we have to take birth. But because those births would be a plan of Krishna, they are not considered as a part of this material cycle. So what Prabhupada says is that we actually do not take or we do not travel in this cycle of birth and death. That gets over. Now what are the next 3 births? So after this birth, it is said that one takes birth as a representative of Krishna, and then they preach the word of Krishna. And then after that birth, she was saying that they get to take birth in any of those universes where Krishna is present on the planet. And the 3rd birth is that one takes as a child of a gopi. And unless one takes birth as a child of a gopi, they cannot go back home, back to Godhead. That's the last birth when one actually goes to Goloka Vrindavan. So it's a very important act in our life where one is aspiring to take birth from the womb of a gopi in order to go back home. And that's the same opportunity, as in we want all the children who are born of devotees to actually move closer to Krishna. So it is said that perception of sexual pleasure is there even in the body of a dog, but there is no sense of God consciousness. The human form of life is distinct from that of the dog by the perception of God consciousness. So this is we often hear this point that the 4 things, that is eating, sleeping, mating and defending. These 4 things are common to animals and to human beings. But the only thing that makes the human being, gives the human being a more higher purpose, is that they have this higher level of intelligence by which they can actually understand what are the principles that are given by God and following those principles. Right? Because by following such principles, one advances in their journey back home. Because we actually belong in Goloka Vrindavan. This is not the place where we belong. So no matter whatever different ways we engage our senses to gratify, it is not possible that we get the pleasure. Like one may not have Krishna in the picture, and then they may want to engage their senses in so many different things, like buy a big home, big car, have 10 girlfriends, like whatever. I don't know. Different people have different ways of gratifying their senses, but none of them actually would give anybody the pleasure that engaging in Krishna consciousness would give. This pleasure that we get is called Amrita. Amrita is something that is everlasting. That is the taste of Krishna consciousness. As beginners in Krishna consciousness, we may not be actually able to taste that nectar right now. But when we actually follow the process in the association of devotees, by strong faith, we need to have that faith. That element is very, very important. But when we follow the process with faith, we will eventually progress to the plane where we can actually taste the nectar of serving Krishna, because that's a natural disposition. Actually, when Michael Jackson died, there was an article that came and they were actually sharing how Michael Jackson had everything. Like he had so many people that would die for him. He had like thousands of fans. Even now, people actually, as soon as they hear Michael Jackson music, they body actually goes into dance. And then there are so many other people also. Like he had money, he had fame, he had almost like everything that one would aspire for. But he died because he didn't have any friends. He died because um, the point that I'm trying to make is that material possessions don't make one happy. They do not bring the satisfaction that one is hankering for. There is a vacancy or a void in the heart. People who are very rich also commit suicide because of this factor that despite they have everything, the Krishna factor is missing. So we'll read the other verses and then we'll see if there is a discussion. Seema Mataji, do you have a book would you like to read?
Sure. Text number 27.
Yeah.
Yes. Odysseus Kor Datu Malam Navi Dayata Vai Kudam Tata Paya Sato Mitra Ustraj Upha Yasra. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating whole anus and the sensory organs thereof developed along with the controlling deity, Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity.
You can read the purport also.
Purport, even in the matter of evacuating stool, the refuse is controlled, so how can the living entity claim to be independent?
Yes. Mataji, can you read the next verse also? We'll discuss them all together. Because this one has a really short purport.
Okay. Asrupso Pura Puriya Nabi Danvara Papanata Chatrapana Sato Matru Patrafam Ubahai Sayam. Thereafter, when he desired to move from one body to another, the navel and the air of departure and death were combinedly created. The navel is the shelter for both, namely death and the separating force. The Prana Vayu continues the life, and the Apana Vayu stops the living force. Both the vibrations are generated from the abdominal hole, the navel. This navel is the joint from one body to the other. Lord Brahma was born of the abdominal hole of Garbhodakasaya, Vishnu as a separate body. And the same principle is followed even in the birth of any ordinary body. The body of the child develops from the body of the mother, and when the child is separated from the body of the mother, it is separated by cutting the navel joint. And that is the way the Supreme Lord manifested himself as separated many. The living entities are therefore separated parts, and thus they have no independence.
Thank you, Mataji, for reading. So,
You're welcome.
Yeah, both these verses actually emphasize on one important subject of how we are always dependent on the Lord. Actually, if we look closely, one time I had actually asked Maharaj this question that like somehow it's very hard for me to develop gratitude because gratitude is very important for us to have a relationship with anybody. Because if we do not have gratitude, we really don't have the binding force of if somebody has given us something, it's very natural for us to feel gratitude for them. Like our parents have given us so much, so we have a natural tendency to have gratitude for them. Similarly, it's with friends that we have gratitude because our friends and we always share things. Like we have done something for them, they have done something for us, and that's the binding force for a relationship. So gratitude in the heart is extremely important for those people who are helping us, not just in Krishna consciousness, but even in our life. So when I asked this question, then Maharaj was explaining to me like how everything in our life is given by Krishna. Whether we take the sun, whether we take the air we breathe, whether we take the water we drink, whether we live in the house that's made of earth, or even our body which is made of these 5 elements. Everything is given by Krishna. So when we actually see these in relation to the Lord, then it is very easy for us to have gratitude for Him. Actually, Krishna is so kind that even we not asking Him anything, He has given us so many resources. He's practically given us everything for us to enjoy. Because that was our desire. We wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. And he actually created this whole world and gave us everything to see if we can try to enjoy separate from Him. He gave us all those resources. Now, if we keep the same situation amongst us and see, if there is a devotee who is actually giving everything to any other person, even without them asking, we would become so indebted to them. We would be ready to give our life. We would sacrifice everything in service of the person if somebody is doing this for us. It's just that it's very hard to acknowledge because we don't see Krishna in the picture. So for me, actually, I was like very touched when Maharaj said that actually even the spiritual masters, even those people who are helping us in our Krishna consciousness, they're doing such a big favor for us. It's a huge favor. Something that for many lifetimes we have lost relationship, they are bringing that link back. It is not easy. Actually, just a few hours back, my sister was talking to one devotee, and every time the phone was getting disconnected. I think in the half an hour they spoke, at least 5 or 6 times the phone was disconnected. And I was actually thinking that that's how our relationship is with Krishna, that we get disconnected all the time. But Krishna is a person who is not giving up despite how many times we get disconnected from Him. After 6 calls, maybe we may give up and we say like, oh, this is so frustrating. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Or I would say that I don't want to do this service anymore of calling that person. I just send a text and say, okay, we'll talk some other time. But Krishna is not like that. He is with us for eternity, waiting for us to go back to Him. So if we actually really look deep of how Krishna is giving us, it's not just Krishna, because Krishna actually gives through His devotees. So it's important for us to actually see the hand of Krishna through His devotees. And when we see that, then it's easy for us to actually understand what Prabhupada is highlighting in these 2 verses, how dependent we are on Krishna, and how dependent we are on His devotees in order to progress in our state of bhakti. So in this verse, one after another, the senses are being created, and in the previous verse we saw that it was the genitals that were created. Now it's the evacuating hole and the sensory organs thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. So Mitra is the controlling deity of the evacuating hole. And we know this I'm sure we all have experienced that we have been in places, especially this happens in India, that we are traveling somewhere and there are no public toilets anywhere. So we are holding on to our thing and holding, and then we actually understand that yeah, we don't have control over this little thing also in our life. So we may develop stomachache, we may develop this and that, but so there are many things that actually bring us the remembrance of how everything is involuntary and is controlled by Krishna. Like even our breathing. We cannot sustain our breathing after some time. Like we cannot hold our breath. We cannot. There's like so many things. This body is just like a machine that has been created by a expert mechanical or whatever, some engineer who has made this perfect machine for us. But the thing is that he has a manual. He knows how to operate this machine. We may not know it as well. So the next verse actually speaks that when Krishna desired to move from one body to another, the navel of the and the air of departures and death were combinedly created. So the navel is the shelter for both, namely death and separating force. So this air that he's talking about is the pranavayu and apanavayu. These are actually life airs. So there are 7 life airs that exist within our body. I don't really remember all of them. I think it is Pana, Apana, Pranayama, Prana. This is actually given in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in Dhyan Yoga. I think it's the last verse or something. I cannot remember. Then it is, so cannot remember all of them. Pana. Yeah, but I cannot remember, Mataji. So we'll look into it and then we'll send it to you. Those 7 kinds of life there. So so this actually speaks about how actually Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Rishali Mataji was actually explaining how Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters each universe and from his navel Brahma comes. And from Brahma, then all these 14 planetary systems they come. So the navel is a very important part of the body. It is also the same part where from where the baby, the child is separated from the mother. There is a navel cord that connects the body of the mother to the body of the child. The nutrition and everything actually goes through that cord. It's also called the umbilical cord. And when that's cut, then that actually separates the other body from this living entity. So that is the organ that is being generated here. When we went to Ekachakra Dham, it is actually the place where Lord Nityananda was born. There is actually a place that's worshipped where his umbilical cord is kept, and it's not like kept, but I exactly do not remember. There's a temple, and it actually says that this is where his umbilical cord was thrown, or whether it's still existing. But there is actually a place. It has a lot of significance even in that place. So I'll end here and see if there is any discussion or points you'd like to share, or you'd like to correct or add, or there is 2 other devotees here. My sister is here and Ruchimati is also here, so they can also share their comments on these verses. I just want to thank you. Very beautiful class. Thank you. Ruchi Mataji, would you like to share anything? Huh? She's hiding. Okay. So Seema Mataji, Rushali Mataji, I don't know if anybody else is on the call. Would like to share something, some realizations of how you felt you were dependent on the Lord.
Yeah, I think you've already completely covered it. You already went quite in depth a lot about these verses. So you explained it quite well, actually. Yeah,
Okay,
thanks for doing that.
Thank you, Seema Mataji. Would you like to share any of your experiences when you felt you were dependent on the Lord?
I think you're always dependent because like you said, your body belongs to Krishna. So, like, even to wake up in the morning, you're dependent on the Lord.
Yeah, that's true. It's an important lesson for me to wake up early and feel dependent on the Lord. That Krishna, please help me to wake up. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Rushali Mataji, would you like to share any of your experiences?
Mataji, whenever I'm on flight, I'm very afraid. So that time I really feel like it's in the hands of God only, safe landing and all.
That's true, Mataji. I also feel like that. Yeah. First time when I got on the flight, I thought I will die. Yeah. Really? That's how I felt. I thought that, okay, I may never make it, especially when I was I was coming to the US. When we were small, my father used to take us on the flight, but just the thought of going to the US and being on the flight for so many hours, it made me so scared. So I used to get a lot of ear pain also. So I thought that my ears will burst, and then I may never be able to actually make it to the US.
Yeah.
I relate.
Yeah. I think when situations are not in our hands, we very easily start remembering God.
Yeah, that's very true, Mataji. Yeah. Actually, in our Bhakti Diksha, there is a couple. They actually recently gave birth to a little baby, and when the baby was born, the baby was not fully capable of sustaining its life on its own. So they had to put her on a ventilator. So and every time the parents, they would only say one thing, that we are praying to Krishna, because like you said, when the control is the control is never in our hands. It's just that we think that we are the controllers. So, but in situations like this, then it becomes even more apparent that Krishna is actually the controller. Yeah, very nice point. Yeah. There is also another instance where another devotee was sharing. She was also giving birth to because I think this verse also talks about cutting the umbilical cord. So I was actually remembering there is another devotee. She was actually giving birth to a child, and I think for 2 or 3 days or something, like, she had labor because the baby wouldn't come out. They were inducing, but still the baby wouldn't come out. They wanted to do C-section, but I think there was some complication that they couldn't do. So she was sharing that after so much of suffering, the doctor actually understood what the problem was. it's not that they don't know, but even the remembrance of dealing with that situation actually comes from Krishna. So it actually clicked. The bulb went on after 3 days of labor that she was having. That, oh, this is the procedure that needs to be done for the baby to come out, and the baby came out in 2 hours. The same doctor had that remembrance 2 days earlier, it would have reduced her suffering so much more. But that's how it is. That like even those who help us, they're also dependent on Krishna. Even their remembrance is dependent on Krishna. So basically Krishna who is orchestrating all these events.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for your class. I was thinking that, of course, all the things that have been said, but also the times where I feel most dependent on the Lord is when I have a change or an action, and I'm not really sure which direction to go or how to respond. I think that that just puts me in a position where I feel very dependent on the Lord. Like, of this, in a year from now, what am I going to do? And I guess it's the fear of not, because I'm realizing like I have no intelligence. I don't know like which direction to be going, and I think that or where I should end up, and so I think that puts me in a place of dependency. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Mataji. It's a very important point. It's what Lord Brahma did. When he came out of the navel of Mahavishnu, there was Garbhadakshay Vishnu. There is darkness everywhere. He didn't know what to do. So he actually did mantra meditation like we are doing. He chanted the Gayatri mantra. Then he got that intelligence of how he can actually go and then do his service of creating this whole universe as a service to Lord Krishna. So yeah, it's a very, very important point that every time we do not know what to do or where to go, the intelligence comes when we connect our consciousness with the super soul or Krishna. He gives us that intelligence. So it's very important that we chant our rounds in a very focused way. Yeah. I was hearing a class recently, some Houston devotee, I don't know, because Maharaj was actually doing a Japa retreat in Houston, and I was hearing those lectures. So there was this devotee who is, I guess, is a very senior devotee, probably a brahmachari, I'm guessing, from what I heard from him. So he was actually sharing how in the beginning he had no taste for chanting. He hated to chant. He was just like holding the beads, and then he would just go here and there and like somehow just get them done. In 4 minutes he used to chant rounds. He used to finish one round in 3 or 4 minutes. Now we can imagine how well he was actually chanting his rounds. So he did that, and then his Guru Maharaj, he made him his servant somehow. I mean, we just don't know how the mercy of Krishna might come. So he made him his servant, and he started traveling with his Guru Maharaj. And then he said that when he saw what his Guru Maharaj was doing, he thought that maybe I should just try. I don't know what my Guru Maharaj is tasting, but let me just try and see, because he's telling me so many times and he's doing for so many years. So that association with senior devotees and the faith in the process itself. So he just thought, and then he tried doing it. So he was sharing like how he started to connect with Krishna and how he started to taste the nectar of chanting. Now, generally, devotees don't share in a public forum. They never share what they taste. They just say that, we should chant well, we should connect with Krishna, like that. But this devotee was, I felt very grateful when I heard him, because it gave me more faith to chant nicely from what he was sharing from himself. He was actually sharing how he he said, I would never go back to that kind of chanting ever again because of what I'm now relishing. I would never do what I was doing earlier. And he was saying that he very, very clearly, he said that there were people who were actually sitting in the class and chanting their rounds when he was actually sharing this. And he said that please go out and do, because it's like a disgrace to the holy name. He gave this example where we invite somebody to our house. Okay, I suppose invite you. Please, Manasi Ganga Mataji, please come to my house. Please come to my house. Please come to my house. And when you come, I'm doing my own thing. I don't even look at you. How would you feel? It would be so bad. And he said the same thing, that even before we say Krishna, Krishna is sitting in front of us, and we are not even looking at Krishna. We are inviting him to come, and then we are doing our own thing. It's such a disgrace. We would never do that if we can actually see Krishna in front of us. So, like for me, it was a very, very touching experience to hear that whole lecture of how he was sharing. And he said that if you're sleepy, just go and sleep. Whatever you need to take care of, you just do it. But when it's your chanting time, it's your chanting time with Krishna. And it is important that you pay attention when you're chanting. I'm sure all of you are doing this. It's more for myself that I'm speaking because sometimes I go through these phases where actually I like how he is sharing. I just have my beads and I just don't know what I'm doing with them. But then when I hear, and they actually help me to again come back, although for a little bit, but yeah, they actually help. Hearing and, like you said, praying, to give that intelligence that we are actually part and parcel of Krishna, and our happiness lies when we are connected with the all blissful and all beautiful and all sweet Kishore Kishori. I talked, I spoke a lot. I don't know, I guess somebody else can probably share. Madhuri, we have 7 more minutes. You and she will speak, and that's it. I don't know the speak. Madhuri, share your experience, how you feel dependent on Krishna.
Well, for me, sometimes I feel that like how we were talking today, Leela Manjari Mataji and Rishali Mataji and all of us, Maria Mataji, that so sometimes I feel that many of my reactions to certain situations are also not in my hand. They are also somehow controlled either by karma or Krishna not Krishna indirectly, but like how that is also not within the control to even do bhakti. For that also one needs the mercy of God, and like also like how other people sometimes we can offend in ways we don't even realize, and those people might have in many previous lifetimes, like I said, might have helped us a lot. So so for every that small thing, because when we are hurting somebody who has done a lot for us, which may not appear to be so, but in many past lifetimes, then you know they might the curse might come from just karma or from their heart or from their emotions, and for that also one has to suffer a long time for like one might fall into bad times where one has to like be removed from God for some time, like how when the Jay and Vijay unknowingly also did not let the rishis enter, and then they had to like take so many birds where they were the
enemies of Krishna. So that is like the worst thing to happen to anybody. So that also is in God's hands only. So I'm very scared sometimes that, even like the fear of everyday living and everyday dealing is also like a fear which one does not know how to deal with. So maybe Leela Manjari Mataji can tell more about that. How to deal with that fear of not committing wrong.
Mataji, I don't know myself. I'm myself in lot of fears. So when I will know, I will tell you. Maybe Prema Rasa can tell.
Yes.
Chant nicely. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. This is what Prabhupada said. I'll repeat his words. Yeah. Mataji, actually the whole Bhagavad Gita is based on this principle that Arjuna was so fearful. And Krishna gave him the essence of doing devotional service.
Very good.
Yeah. I was also actually thinking about one thing. I think in the evening they were discussing about how the humility and all those. So this is what I was. I don't remember like who told me like, some years ago. They said that like real humility is to be confident that Krishna and Krishna's devotees are going to come, and like for us to rely on Krishna's expertise in helping us and feeling dependent on Krishna is actually humility. Real humility is that when we not thinking that I cannot do anything, but feeling confident that Krishna will actually help me in every endeavor is real humility. Actually, when we go for book distribution, it's very easy to become humble, Mataji. Very easy. Even not just going for book distribution, you be with devotees, you become humble. That's for sure. Everybody will come and give you feedback right and left and up and down, and it's very easy to become very, very small, smaller than the ant, smaller than the blade of grass. Very easy to become. That's why association of devotees in one sense is very important. It makes us very humble. I'm just sharing it as much as it's a joke, but it's reality also. But anyway, like for me, I feel that like when we feel confident that Srila Prabhupada is with us, when we are in his book form, when we are traveling in book distribution or whatever it could be that we can connect to, even if it's like our spiritual master. The first time when I went for dressing, I was so scared. I was so sweating, and it was exactly like Arjuna was describing. Like my legs were shivering. Even to touch Kishori, I was like, I don't know what offenses I'm going to make when I'm touching Kishori and dressing. And Ladni Shakti Mataji, she told me one thing. She said that Guru Maharaj is with you, so you don't have to feel scared, or you don't feel that you are incapable of doing this service. Your confidence lies in the fact that you're carrying Guru Maharaj in your heart. And I never forget. I mean, I forget it, but I try to remember every time I'm in that position. So, like for me, that's what has worked. Like when we hold, my sister is doing. Okay, now my sister is speaking. Okay, we had a very nice discussion. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
To anybody to respond. Yeah, that's why I can give it here. And you like this guy, we had a very nice class. Maria Mastaki was like,
Okay. Whoever wants to speak, please speak.
Mataji, I have one query. I have experienced this. Like sometimes we don't want to do something it's related to spiritual, and what I do, I don't do it because I'm not feeling because I feel that I'm not feeling from heart to do it, so it is not appropriate to do. So I just stop doing it because I think it's not good to do if I don't want willingly to do it. So what we should actually do? Should we still do it? Let it. It can be anything. Even though our heart is not. Should we still do it, or we should do it with proper intentions and with pure heart? When that develops, then only we should do it, or we should do
What do you
still
think,
do it.
Vrushali Mataji? You give me the answer. You know it.
Like Mataji, I don't know, but I have again I have different experience when I do chanting. Even I'm not saying I don't do it like very purely, but still I feel that by impure chanting one day I may do pure chanting. So this I do right now.
Yeah. So that's the answer. We need to continue to do even if we don't want to do it. So many times we didn't want to go to school. We went, that's why we became graduates.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Like we want to graduate in Krishna consciousness with good GPA, then that's the thing. Like even we don't want to do it, we just do it.
Yeah. So that applies to each and everything, not only chanting.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. It's very natural for not wanting to do it. I would be surprised if somebody said, "Oh, I really love chanting. I really like to hear. I really want to be in Kirtan 24/7." Then they're like, either they're lying, or the second thing could be that there's. It's possible that somebody has a pure intention. Currently, I'm not in that state, so yeah. Even for me, it's like that. Like, there's so many times when I don't want to do what I'm doing, but that's how it is. Eventually, we like to do it.
Yeah, it happened to me like while keeping fastings. I kept during month of Kartik, and all of the sudden I was like, oh, it's another 15 days now. And just because I got this thought, I left it because I didn't felt it good that I should be doing something without heart.
Can you share again, Mataji, what happened when you were fasting?
During the month of Kartik, we do fast, right, Mataji? So after...
So you fast all day? You fast all day, is it?
No, not kind of all fasting, but that's something fasting from particular things, different type of fastings people do, right?
Okay.
So after 12 days or 13, I don't remember exactly. A thought came in. Oh, it's like now another 15 days left, and I was tired of it. And just because of this thought, I actually left it because I thought I don't want to do something if I'm not doing it from heart. So I actually left it.
Oh, okay. So Mataji, there is what our acharyas have done. The strength lies when we try to follow those. I have seen many people, especially from India, even I was like that, I was one amongst them, is that we try to do some things which are actually not prescribed in the scriptures. Like we come up with our own fasting schedules, we come up with something that we just want to do, suddenly we start doing things like that. But there is actually a whole thing of let's say the festivals like Gaur Purnima. So our acharyas have given us how to fast and what to eat on those days. So like let's say Janmashtami, the whole day we fast. Or let's say Nirjala Ekadasi, we fast the whole day. Where is the strength coming from? It comes because of the instructions that we have received from our acharyas. So even when you are fasting, you make sure that what you are fasting is in compliance with some scripture or our acharyas, and that will give us the strength.
Yeah.
So in Kartik, I don't know like what. Okay, my sister knows, Mataji. She'll comment. Mataji, I know what you're talking about. But the thing is, sometimes we, like, Prabhupada always gives this example of a child who is learning to walk. So every child will eventually walk, but many times the child will fall down when he's walking. Have you seen small children when they're trying to walk? They'll walk like 2 steps and doop, they will fall down. So similarly, like that, when we are cultivating a new habit, sometimes the mind may trick us and say, okay, this is not going to work. This is too much for you. And maybe the mind is correct because we may not be accustomed to doing such a thing.
Yeah.
So, so we have to pace ourselves. So, see, this time you did 12 days, right? Next time, instead of aiming for 30 days, maybe you should aim for 15 days. Yeah, 15 days or 20 days. And then you will be easily be able to do. So don't get discouraged because there is failure.
Yeah, no, I'm not discouraged. Ultimately, I was, since I didn't continue, so I was kept thinking, did I do good or should I be doing it without, even if I'm thinking again I have to do for 1 week without heart. Should I be doing without heart also, or it was good decision to leave it because my heart was not pure?
No. It is the vow that you take. So if the vow, if the vow that you have taken is such that, for 1 month I will do, whether or not you feel like doing it, you just do it, because that will build our determination.
Yeah.
We become very determined when we do such things. And what that does is that is why we have these procedures. You know why? Because they actually build our determination. And these actually help us to build our determination to reach to Krishna.
Yeah. Maybe
small things, like 1 month, I'm just sharing, not like your example, but even like 1 day of fasting, let's say. Many people ask us, like, how do you fast all day? My mother used to scold me when we were fasting all day. She's very upset when she comes to our house and we are fasting like this for all these festivals. So, but why are we doing it? We are doing it because actually in the whole span of, let's say, 100 years, 1 month or 2 months or 1 day might not really mean much. But keeping the vow builds our Dhrida Vrata, that determination to take 1 step closer to Krishna. So it's like sometimes it's important for us to keep the goal fixed.
Yeah.
So when the goal is clear, then the steps are clear. But when we have doubt in our goal, it's very hard for us to, stay with that goal. So it is very important. When we make a goal, it's important, like goal setting, we have to make sure that that's something that's doable. That's not a lot for us, something that we will be able to achieve. And like, what is the objective? And at the position that I am at, can I actually achieve that goal? So when we do the goal setting, it's important that we either talk to somebody who is helping us, or, we can, if we are in doubt, we can check with somebody. If we are not, if that's something that we have been doing, we can set up a goal and then we try to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know, Mataji.
So Mataji, I think that...
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, you were talking about, Vishali Mataji, you were talking about, should I continue if I have no taste, if I am just doing it without heart? And I'm just thinking that at the beginning, whether it's chanting or whatever, we're going to be just practicing. We're just practicing. We're getting into the habit of it. We're learning how to do it. And as time goes on, then once we're practiced in it, then we can start putting our heart into it. You know, if we're not spontaneously attracted to whatever the sacrifice is, then just practice, and then ultimately, as time goes on, like Mataji was saying, there's the strength in the instruction itself, whether it's Acharya or your guru or whatever. And as time goes on, you're going to be more able to put your heart into it, because your confidence is increasing as time goes on. Just so, I mean, that's just my understanding, that you should just do it, even if your heart is not there at the beginning. And then as time goes on, you know, as you're practiced in the actual habit of it, and when you become confident that it's a integral part. You know, all these little pieces that Srila Prabhupada gave us are all small parts, but they all work towards the same goal. And once you come to the realization that even fasting or whatever it is, that's going to get me to the goal, when you come to that realization, you're going to put your heart into it. So to not do it because your heart is not in it is not the right way. The right way is to practice, and then once you realize that it's going to be working towards the goal, like Prema Rasa said, then you'll start putting your heart into it, because you have that realization.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Okay, Mataji, so shall we end here? Thank you, Mantri Ganga Mataji, for sharing. Roshali Mataji also, Seema Mataji, thank you all for joining, and we'll continue again tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada,
thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Sure.